Okay, so this particular essay we're going to take a look at now. It's a two-part question. And my first comments, the first thing about this essay, in general, the English, the level of English is good. There's some good vocabulary. The grammar is pretty good. There's possibly one or two very minor mistakes. However, the main thing that is wrong with this essay, this is what we will be talking about alone today, is the structure. It's a completely inappropriate structure for this question type. Well, for any essay question type, in fact. The reason why this is important, and I'll show you this now. So the official banned descriptors. If we scroll down, right. So if your format is inappropriate, as in you use a wrong structure for the question type, you can see what you get. You get 5, or possibly even 4. Responds to the task only in a minimal way, or if the answer is tangential, in other words, at a tangent, off topic. So this is why having a good structure appropriate for the question type is very important. Now, I'm not going to talk about anything else, any of the other criteria for this particular essay, just about the structure. So I'll show you a structure which we can use, which is pretty good. So all that you do for your introduction: sentence 1, you paraphrase, restate the question. Sentence 2, answer both questions in brief. Now, this is the outline sentence. Then we come to the body paragraph. You answer the first question again in brief, explain it, expand it, develop it if you need, and then we have to have an example. Every essay needs reasons and examples in every paragraph. Clear central topic in each paragraph. Present, extend, explain, support with an example your main ideas. So this is something that we have to have. Then body paragraph 2, again the second question, explain, develop, example, and then in conclusion we need a summary of the main ideas. So let's take a look at this essay. So write about the following topic: there are many people who go to live in different countries. Okay. To what extent should people be allowed to move freely between countries and live where they choose? That's question 1, so that's what we should address in paragraph 2. What are the benefits and drawbacks of this? So this is what we should be tackling in paragraph number 3. So the first part is basically the context. That's not the actual question. So we have to give reasons and examples, so to what extent, how far do we agree that people should be allowed to move between countries and live where they choose? And then the second thing, what are the advantages and disadvantages, what are the benefits and the drawbacks of allowing people to move freely? Okay, so that introduction then, the structure, restate the topic, answer both questions in brief. So nowadays traveling is becoming a trend. Well, first, it's not traveling. This is migration. To travel is to take a holiday or a trip. So that's nothing to do with the topic. With the ease of booking cheap and affordable flights, people feel motivated to move around and try living in different countries. Well, this sounds like an example and an explanation, so that shouldn't be here. It should be in the body paragraph. Okay. I personally travelled to 7 countries and lived in 5 different countries. Okay, well, good, but still, this is an example. It shouldn't be here. It should be here or in here. Okay. So, paragraph. So, this basically should simply restate the topic, and it should explain it. So, I did write an example if we scroll down. So, now this is a better introduction. So there are a number of people who choose to move around the world and live, not travel, in different countries. I believe that freedom of movement between countries should not be allowed unless based on certain criteria. So question 1, I'm answering that there, because it says, to what extent? Question 2, I also believe that the advantages of limited migration can be seen in allowing skilled workers to come to a country, whereas the disadvantages are the changing in demographics in a nation. Okay, so if we go back to the question, to what extent should people be allowed to move and live where they choose? Okay, that's question 1. Question 2, what are the benefits and drawbacks? In other words, what are the positives and negatives of this? So this introduction here doesn't really introduce. So paragraph 2 then should be answering the first question. To what extent should people be allowed to move and live in different countries? Travelling abroad helps us expand our horizons. Well, it's not travel, it's migration it's talking about. My first trip was to the US. My father travelled to the US. I lived in the States for 7 years, living in Canada. Okay, so this is basically irrelevant. This is nothing to do with what the question is asking. It's about the topic of travel or living in different countries, but that's not what the question is. The question is asking, to what extent do you agree that people should be allowed to move freely and live where they choose? So all this is doing is basically the author's own experience of what they have done, where they've been. So it doesn't answer the question, it's basically irrelevant. So tangential, in other words, it's a tangent, irrelevant, you're looking at 5 and 4. So not very good. So let's take a look back at it again. So, okay. Then paragraph number 3, we should be talking about what are the benefits and the drawbacks. What is good and bad. So living in Malaysia, I enjoyed living. So we have some examples here. Okay. Again, not really answering the question yet. Some individuals might cause harm. Now it's talking about some of the drawbacks. Therefore, there should be strict laws and policies, but what kind of policies? To allow people in or not to allow people in, or check on criminals, or what? For those who don't have jobs, creating job opportunities. So this is kind of addressing the question now. Okay, so this first paragraph, irrelevant. This next bit, it's kind of addressing the question. Now, what's the benefits and drawbacks? Well, it doesn't really say. It doesn't say what the benefits are. It's just what the drawbacks. So it doesn't really address both of the questions, and it doesn't have an example. Okay. In conclusion, individuals should have a right to move from one country to another with consideration of, okay, all right, how many people? Then we've got some new stuff, some new information here, new cultures, different lifestyles, which it doesn't mention. Well, it like kind of says, it briefly mentions something, but it doesn't develop it, doesn't say anything, there's no example. So that wouldn't quite work. So if we take a look at the example. So we've seen the introduction. So restate the topic, restate the question, briefly answer question 1, okay, answer question 2. So, international freedom of movement seems to intuitively be a good thing. However, if this were allowed, the millions of people from less well-off parts of the world would seek to migrate to the West. This would obviously pose many problems for infrastructure and integration, etc. For example, it would seem sensible then to have some criteria before allowing such freedom, such as a point system for language skills, etc., as in Australia and Canada. I can't just go and live in Australia and Canada as an Englishman. I need visa, I need points, I need things, so do other people too. So this is addressing the question, to what extent should people be allowed to move and live where they... I'm saying, well, not really. Because, you know, if this were allowed, millions of people would naturally want to migrate here, where our economy is better. This would pose lots of problems, so therefore it shouldn't be allowed unless we have some kind of system to decide who can come or not. Okay, so question 2. What's the benefits and drawbacks of allowing people to live where they wish? Let's take a look. So the advantages of managed immigration then, because I said here that it should be managed. The advantages of managed immigration then are that migrants with certain skills, such as doctors, IT guys, and other people, can fill the skills gap in whichever country they move to. This is what lots of people do. In the UK, the National Health Service, if it wasn't for people from around the world, the NHS would not exist. So this is of significant benefit to the receiving nation, and is the reason countries such as I mentioned as Canada and Australia have such a system. So it's good, it's of a significant benefit, it's an advantage. However, the downsides of uncontrolled immigration, as I mentioned above, are the very real issues of infrastructural pressure, as in housing and schools. For example, in the UK, it is estimated that a city the size of Liverpool would need to be built every year to accommodate the estimated 300,000 migrants who move there year on year. Now, these figures are actually true, based on official government estimation. 300,000 coming into the UK every year. So, some downsides. Okay, so in conclusion, although many people migrate every year, I believe that unmanaged migration without certain safeguards will be detrimental to the host country. However, if properly controlled, the movement of skilled people can only benefit the new countries they call home. So, you see how having a well-structured and well-organized essay, that's what the criteria is calling for. A good structure, logical organization of information, a progression, a clear position throughout the response, main ideas, examples, reasons. Okay, that's what the essay needs. So, all this essay needs, well, I mean, this particular one, there's some irrelevance. So it's writing about the topic, but not the question, and it's the structure. So something to work on there, I think. Okay, thanks.